Yeah, my name is Abdul Oro, and I've been a journalist, and I'm also a politician. I've been working on something, and Bankole is aware. And in the course of doing my research, I stumbled on something like what we just related about Abba. There was, I don't know whether to call him a businessman of those days, more like a pirate working with the Royal Niger Company. Visited a place called Abo now in Delta State. He was trying to set the price of palm oil and also to prevent the people of Abo, at least Kuala area of Delta State, from selling palm oil to other companies. But the chief resisted, the king of the community resisted. He sent a message to him that he should remember that he's dealing with a white man. And the king replied, "Tell the white man that a white man died here before. So we are going to do this or no business." That is from Obaru Kime's book on Nigeria history. Is it a British thing to want to use color, to want to have your way, or to get yourself out of danger? That's my question.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. There's a lady behind here by your side, yeah. Just, yes.
Hi, Kadi. I'm Professor. Hi, Keith. They're friends of mine, Keith and Kadaria. And to the publisher, I say a big hello. Well, mine is a build-up on what he's just said. I didn't know he was going to ask a question based on, should I say race? So I have often been tortured with the fact that I think that our parents were made to build their lives around the belief that colonization was positive. I will call it positive colonization. They were brainwashed. That is the generation of my parents. They were brainwashed into thinking that a lot of the aspects of colonization was positive for Africa. Now, coming to our generation, I'm going to ask you a question after I make my statement. Our generation challenges this. In fact, I am sure if you ask a lot of people who belong to my generation, they would tell you there was nothing positive about colonization, despite the technology they brought and the other aspects of it. You know, I think the next generation, there's going to be a clash, a real challenge with the Occidental, that's the Western nations, the people who brought colonization to us. You know, there's going to be a real force that may be either positive or negative for Africa. You know, because I don't think that since we're using white man, black man in this forum, then permit me to use the phrase white man. I do not think the white man really wants Africa to evolve. What do you think, sir?
Okay.
Oh, okay, yep.
I mean, maybe you can answer this also, obviously, in the context of the rise of the far right across Europe, in the United States, and the push against diversity that we have seen growing among, if you like, the developed countries.
Yeah. Clearly, it's a huge issue. I mean, I'll state very simply that you know, colonialism was completely built on a lie and the destruction of not just in Africa, but you know, of cultures, histories, of local industries was an abomination. There's just no other world about it. And but it's interesting, this book the bit in the book, I wondered about reading it. I thought about it when I put it in the book, but I wondered about reading it now, because clearly that paragraph written on his own can appear to be completely racist. So I saw Oti come in. It was your favourite bit, mate. You missed it. Yeah, I read your favourite bit about stepping over a white man's dead body. So, yes, I guess it could be. It's meant to be from the point of black magic, from juju, and the use. Bakassi clearly use magic and juju, and that's why you quote the Igbo phrase "Beke na wabra," and clearly it could be, and it was something that came up. It is a constant issue, and it should be an issue where I would say racism is built on coercion. And I mean, it's, to go into that, it's been a journey. I would say that I changed, even after I've retired, I learned more. I've learnt more going back to the UK because of the rise in xenophobia and racism in the UK. I am absolutely appalled and disgusted with the increase in racism that's going on in the UK, and that reflects a global trend. We see it in America with Trump, and as a British man, I'm appalled. Friends of mine of colour have been treated, have had comments made to them that was, I thought we were moving on, and clearly the fact that we have a prime minister in Britain that uses terms like, letterbox for hijabs and the comments that he's made, and that the BBC allow an open platform for racists like Farage, and yet when one young journalist, BBC journalist of colour, makes what is absolutely a true statement about Trump being a racist, then the BBC try to dismiss her. I find this abhorrent, and it is extremely challenging, and it also makes me think about how I should respond to that, and how far I have been and continue to be racist in some form. Because I think, and in saying that there's an element of it in everybody, is not to condone it in myself. So I think it's a very important point, and I try to just be as honest as I can, but it's not an easy subject, and I would put myself in the category of learning and trying to understand it better.
Thank you.
There is some movement. We're in the middle of Black History Month in the UK. Ed chaired a symposium with people. It was referred to in the celebration thing, and I think it's very important in the UK that we do try to improve history in the UK of black people of colour in the UK, the connection to their history, and it clearly here too, we need, and the Nigerian education system also needs to be better at having a better curriculum for understanding history and culture, because if you've had that erased, then that erasure is part of what meant that your previous generations were meant to believe that they should say thanks for colonization, because their own cultures and history and, were erased. And I've just read a book on India. Sorry if I'm going on about it, but it's a big... When the British went to India, India was responsible for 27% of the world's GDP. In 1947, when the British ordained to give independence back to Greater India, India was responsible for 3% of the world's GDP. So in the simplest of terms, they shifted 24%. I know it's more complicated than that, but clearly the return of value. The Indian steel, when the British got there, when Clive of India was there, Indian steel was far superior to British steel, so much so that British soldiers threw away their swords and used Indian swords because they were better than theirs. But when the British took over, they banned the manufacture of Indian steel so that they could import. And so Indian industries were forced to import steel from the UK to India. Kapoor's book, I don't know if you read it, Suresh, fascinating. So we have to be better at publicising and understanding the history of what it's meant to understand what the current situation is. So I've gone on a bit about that, but, clearly it is an issue, in my book.
Thank you very much, Keith.